Two massive questions for the Porsche fans. Is the 911 Turbo S one of the best 911s ever? And if we look at the special models like the Sport Classic in 2022, Porsche learned from the success of this car, and for the 60th birthday of the 911, they released in 23 the ST. And now, in 25, the release of the Spirit 70. But what about the Turbo 50 years released in 24? Could this be one of the most important limited 911s in 25? If you're thinking what or how, stay with me. Let's look at 50 years of turbo domination and question the possibilities. In 1974, the world met a machine that redefined what it meant to be fast. A car so ahead of its time in design, the silhouette is the same today. A car in people's dreams and hearts built from motorsport success. 50 years later, that legacy roars into the future with domination from every generation. How does Porsche celebrate half a century of uncompromising performance, timeless design, and turbocharged heritage? Introducing the 911 Turbo 50 Years Limited Edition. Two different styles. One Porsche legend. For collectors, this is an icon reborn. A Porsche designed not just to be driven, but remembered, with every detail carefully considered to reflect the past. In 2024, the turbo success has its mark on every model, which means this is more than a celebration of 50 years of the 911 Turbo. It's everything the brand stands for in one car. A statement that is beyond heritage. Raw power, groundbreaking innovation, and unmistakable design. The 50 Years edition is crafted with passion, purpose, and prestige. One of the best-looking 911s to date. The interior takes things to a new level. A nod to the past, styled for today. The 50 Years edition variations are very different. The standard version features Turbonite detailing and badges, exclusively available on turbo models. Or choose the Heritage Pack, offered only with white decals and white Sport Classic wheels. The white makes this limited edition stand out, and the package changes the Turbonite color to use historical gold handmade badges and gold lettering. With limited numbers of 1,974 produced globally, this rare 911 Turbo S is a true collector's car from day one. A car that got design teams excited, with clothing brands releasing Turbo 50 Legacy statement clothing, the tartan looking stylish and sophisticated. A car that stands out amongst other Porsches anywhere, and even if you don't follow the special models, you know this is something to take note of. This is 50 years of turbocharged innovation, a special moment in time. A car released in 24, putting its stamp in Porsche's history, at a point of change. To appreciate just how important the Turbo 50 model is in the history of the 911, you have to look at the future. In 2025, the 911 enters a new chapter, with new models introducing hybrid technology, the first being the GTS, and soon the Turbo itself. Porsche is moving forwards with amazing innovation, leading the way again. This new hybrid technology is designed to maximize the performance of the 911, a new flat six engine. This is then coupled with a new PDK gearbox with an integrated electric motor, which uses a high-voltage electric battery, and there is also an electric motor in the turbocharger. This is groundbreaking, like in '74, a bold step in the automotive world. This latest technology is aimed to improve performance. The new electric motor built into the newly developed e-turbocharger is designed to deliver compressed air immediately to reduce turbo lag to a minimum. Also, the new e-turbo recovers heat energy from the excess gas to add more power.
Oh, yes! Come on!
This technology advancement is groundbreaking and improves the performance of the GTS, making it extremely quick. So when the new turbo is released with this technology, it will be very interesting. A special limited edition GTS Cabriolet model has been released. The Spirit 70, built as part of a celebration of the change to the 911 with only 1,500 units being made globally. This joins the ST, Sport Classic, and Turbo 50. This Spirit 70 will be discussed in another video. These changes to the 911 DNA make the Turbo 50 even more important to the collectors. Just like the huge debate about the change from air-cooled to water-cooled engines with the 996, every generation moving forwards leaving its legacy as a timestamp in Porsche's history. So the Turbo 50 being the final turbo with original DNA makes this a car for the collectors. To understand this, you need to look at how we got here. In 1974, when Ferry Porsche revealed the first 911 turbo prototype, this was a brave statement from the brand, something that the automotive world took notice of. A car that made manufacturers definitely realize that things were changing. Porsche taking motorsport success and engineering excellence to new levels on the track and then bringing this to the road. This was the first production car with a turbo. This wasn't just another 911. This was the birth of the turbo era. It featured wide arches, that iconic whale-tail spoiler, aggressive styling that screamed performance, a turbocharged 3-liter flat-six engine. It looked fast, stood still. Driving the turbo in the 70s was like nothing else being produced at the time. Everyone in the automotive world knew about it. The 911 Turbo was more than just a successful new car launch. Back then, turbocharging was reserved for race cars. Porsche's vision to bring race-bred power to the streets was a game changer. The performance of this car in the 1970s is something that in 2025 car manufacturers are still working to achieve. The early 911 Turbo was a beast, brutal, unforgiving, and exhilarating. The 930 Turbo will forever be remembered in automotive history. With every generation that followed, it got faster with more technology. The 993 Turbo is considered one of the best 911s from the past, and this became an icon when the 996 was released due to the water-cooled engine change. Every turbo follows in the footsteps of turbo number 1.
One of the unique cars we have here in the collection is the very first 911 Turbo, which was the birthday present for Louise Piech in 1973. She's the sister of Ferry Porsche, the daughter of Ferdinand Porsche, and she's one of the key figures of the Porsche history. And yeah, it's not just the very first one. You can make out it was her private car. First of all, she didn't want to have the turbo badge on the back.
Turbo number 1 was the start of what was to become turbo domination for the 911. Every generation improved. In the 1970s, the 911 Turbo was pushing 260 PS, achieving 100 kilometers in 5.4 seconds. The latest generation achieving 100 kilometers in 2.8 seconds with 580 PS. This means the 911 Turbo is now in hypercar performance figures, and it's a reliable car that can be a daily driver. So taking this 992 generation, Turbo S model and making a limited edition as the final turbo without hybrid technology is an important model in the history of the 911. Every generation plays a part of what the turbo is today. From 1974, now 50 years older, the turbo legacy has grown stronger with every generation. What has to be the only car to be so perfect in design that the silhouette of the 911 is the same today and will most likely continue to be in future models? In 1977, the engine displacement increased from 3 liters to 3.3. This upgrade gave it a huge boost in performance from 260 to 300 PS. The 3.3 turbo introduced an air-to-air intercooler and wider wheels. In 1990, the 964 generation was released, a completely redesigned chassis using an evolution of the 3.3-liter engine, with improved throttle response, less turbo lag, and smoother power delivery. Using a new suspension setup including coil springs and shock absorbers instead of torsion bars. In 1995, the 993 Turbo gave the 911 Turbo all-wheel drive, which was derived from the 959 supercar system. The engine now had a twin-turbo setup and was producing 408 PS, 0 to 100 kilometers in 4.5 seconds. 2000 was probably the biggest single leap in the 911 Turbo's history. Everything changed. The 996 Turbo was the first 911 Turbo with a water-cooled engine. The body was entirely new and used the new famous fried egg headlight design. In 2006, the 997 generation brought back the classic round headlights. More aggressive, wider, and muscular design overall. Closer to the iconic 911 look fans loved, it used variable turbine geometry turbochargers. The engine remained the bulletproof Mesger-based 3.6-liter flat 6 until 2009. When the 3.8 direct fuel injection engine was released in the 997 second generation, which also brought with it the PDK gearbox. This point in the turbo's history, the car was now everything you could ever need in a car. 500 PS and 0 to 100 kilometers in 3.4 seconds. In a car that looked special and could be a daily driver or a track monster. To some, the best 911 being more manually focused than the next generations with less technology. But in 2011, when the 991 Turbo was released, this introduced a brand new platform. It wasn't an evolution of the 997, it was a new era for the Turbo. Lighter than the 997 and with more power at 560 PS. Pushing 700 Newton meters of torque, this was now a car that was at the 3-second mark to 100 kilometers and a 10-second quarter mile.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad built her. 900 horses of Detroit muscle. It's a beast. Know what she ran in Palmdale?
No, what did she run?
9 seconds flat.
A 10-second quarter mile is a key figure that car modification companies aim to achieve. This is a production car with 4 seats achieving this. The 991 Turbo S was a giant leap into the modern era. Faster, more luxurious, more stable, more user-friendly, and packed with technology no previous turbo ever had. It became a true everyday supercar that could annihilate almost anything on the road. And you could still take it to the shops afterward. In 2014, it was the 40th birthday of the 911 Turbo, and this started a new era in special turbo models with the release of the Turbo S Exclusive GB Edition, aimed at only the UK market, with only 40 cars being made, one for each year of the Turbo's past. The 991 Turbo S was such a great-looking car, ticking so many boxes for car critics. Could this get any better? In 2020, Porsche released the 992 generation of the Turbo. The 992 has a brand new body. It is not just faster, it's more refined, more aggressive looking. It keeps everything the Turbo stands for, maintains its reputation as the everyday supercar. But now it's capable of destroying hypercars and still commuting comfortably. The 992 Turbo has 650 PS and achieves 0 to 100 kilometers in a reserved 2.7 seconds, a crazy 0 to 200 kilometers in 8.9 seconds, a top speed of 330 kilometers. The Bugatti Veyron Supersport, for example, achieves 2.5 seconds to 100 kilometers and 200 in 6.7 seconds, and this cost over $1 million, with its average running costs being more than a base 911 to buy. When you consider what Porsche has achieved with the 911 Turbo over the last 5 decades, you have to be impressed. As this generation comes to an end, with the introduction of hybrid technology in the next turbo generation, the 911 Turbo 992 contains everything from the past, since 1974. A car that is as good as you will ever get, without using any form of EV battery. This is why the 911 Turbo 50 Years Limited Edition is something that in the decades to come will be an icon to be remembered. Could the 911 Turbo 50 Years be the best all-round limited edition Porsche built at this point in time? It stands a good chance of being given that status. Let me know in the comments. The chances of you seeing this YouTube video is super rare. There is over 100 million YouTube channels. I am not going to ask you to like and subscribe. But if you do, thank you and have a great day.